Good morning, everyone, and welcome to National Work Experience Week. This is our first webinar of the week. I hope you're all as excited as I am. I'm your host, Andy from Career Map TV, and today we're joined by the Movement to Work team to be debunking some myths around work experience. So remember, this session is recorded, so if you do miss any information, it will be up on our website and our YouTube channel, respectively, within the week. So without any further ado, I'll hand over to the Moving to Work team. And remember, there is a Q&A at the end. So if you want to leave any questions in the chat box, we'll come back to it at the end of the webinar. Thank you very much.
Hi, everybody, and thank you, Andy, for that wonderful introduction there. It's really great to be here and kicking off National Work Experience Week with Career Map, where, as Andy mentioned, we're going to be debunking some myths around work experience. So my name is Ashley and I work at Movement to Work. We're a really small charity based all over the UK. And we're a youth unemployment focused charity. But before I kind of go on and explain a little bit more about what Movement to Work does, I have got some wonderful guests here with me today who are all Movement to Work youth ambassadors. So I'm going to get them to introduce themselves one by one so you know who they are. So the first up on my list to introduce themselves is Scott. Scott, do you want to take it away and introduce yourself first?
Yep, so hi everyone. I'm Scott Keegan. I am a youth ambassador for Movement to Work, but I also work for the Department for Work and Pensions as a learning delivery officer. So I do all of the training for the DWP, and I'm one of the youth ambassadors within our department as well. So I do a lot of the work experience placements for DWP and some of the civil service, and I do a lot of guest speaking and stuff on other placements, and do some work with the charity as well.
Fabulous. And Scott, where are you beaming in from today?
I am from, funnily enough, sunny Birkenhead in Wirral, which is right next to Liverpool, for anyone that doesn't know.
Fab. Thanks, Scott. So next up, I'll go for Anastasia because I think Josiah's still loading. So do you want to go for Anastasia?
Yep, no worries. Can you see me on camera because my camera's not showing?
Yes, we can see you.
Oh, happy days, and that makes something good. So hi everyone, my name's Anastasia Jamfrey. I work for BAE Systems. I am a bid manager for Capability Portfolio. I attended a Movement to Work programme back in 2014, and since then have been with BAE Systems, completed an apprenticeship, have went on to become a fully qualified project manager, and had 2 promotions since. And I am currently located in Preston, mainly working from home.
Fab. Thanks so much, Anastasia. And finally, Josiah, do you want to
Hello, can you see me now?
We can see you now. Do you want
Great.
to introduce yourself?
Cool. I'm Josiah Davis. I work for Marks and Spencers, and I'm also an ambassador as well. I work as a fire health and safety officer for my store, and I'm tuning in from London.
Fabulous. And when did you do your Movement to Work programme, Josiah?
So I started Kickstart in 2021. Each time I say that, it feels much longer. But yeah, that's when I started. Yeah.
Fabulous. Great stuff. And Scott, when did you do your Movement to Work programme?
Yeah, I was just about to say that. So I done mine all the way back in 2020, right in the middle of the first lockdown. So I actually was one of the pilot work experience placements for DWP's virtual platform. So we done a lot of the trial and error on the virtual placement for our department.
Thank you so much, guys. That's all introductions complete, but you probably sat there wondering, who is Movement to Work? What do we do? What's a Movement to Work placement? So I'm going to go into a little bit more detail about that now. So what is Movement to Work? As I already mentioned, we're a really small youth unemployment charity. we work with businesses and the third sector to design and implement work experience programs. So our bread and butter is going out to businesses, empowering them and saying, you need to do more for young people and you need to do more to help young people get into work. And one of the ways that you can do that is to put on work experience for young people. So Josiah, Anastasia and Scott have all done work experience and are here to kind of talk about the kind of the benefits of work experience and debunk those myths. We've got quite a big network at Movement to Work. So we're a really, really big collaborative organisation. You probably recognise some of those logos on the screen, or at least I hope you do. There's some big ones on there like Tesco's, Marks and Spencer's. Some of you might recognise Salesforce as well, B&Q, The Body Shop. So we're a really, really big network, and we are a really small organisation that works with all of these bigger organisations so that we can help make more opportunities for young people. We've been going for 10 years. Movement to Work was founded back in 2013. Some of you guys may not remember, but it actually was born out of the riots that happened back in 2011, where our founder, Mark Boland, went to the streets of Croydon after the riots had happened to ask why they'd happened, what was fueling this and what was fueling unemployment at the time. And when he spoke to people, they said that they were really struggling because you can't get a job without experience, but nobody's willing to give you experience. So there's this cycle that's really getting young people stuck because they can't get experience, and then to need a job they need experience. So Movement to Work was born with the ethos that we're there to break that cycle, because we're there to tell businesses you need to do more for young people, because how do you expect to hire anybody if they've not got any experience? So yeah, we've been going for 10 years. It's a massive milestone that we're celebrating this year, and there's lots of noise about that on our social media channels, and we're really, really excited because it's a nice time for us to kind of reflect on the next 10 years and what we're going to do for the next 10 years coming as well. Which also links really nicely to say that over the last 10 years, we've put on 155,000 opportunities for young people across the UK. So we're a national organisation. We don't just operate in certain areas of the country. We do have different placements going on in Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland and England too. So we are a national organisation. But even though we're a national organisation, we're a bit of an odd entity. We don't run the programmes ourselves. Like I say, we empower businesses to put on these work experience programmes for us. So, for example, I've just got like a little diagram here to explain how that works. So we tend to act at Movement to Work as the bridge. So we have like a young person at the beginning of their journey at the start of the bridge, and we work with youth engagement organisations. So this could be like charities, different third sector training providers as well. Sometimes we work with government funding and employers to put on these work experience placements for young people. So it's a real collaborative approach, and we work with it's lots of different people and lots of different people in the mix to make these work experience placements happen. Work experience placements can be really different. They range from 1 week all the way up to sometimes 12 weeks, and it really varies from organisation to organisation, because organisations tend to tailor their work experience to what fits with them. So, for example, the DWP work experience placements can be anywhere from up to 2 weeks up to 12 weeks. M&S do theirs for between 2 and 4 weeks. So it really depends on the type of roles and the type of experience that the employers want to give you. But Movement to Work is the kind of the bridge and the glue behind the scenes to work with all of these businesses to make these work experience placements happen. So hopefully that's a good explanation of what Movement to Work is and what we do. And don't want you to be listening to me talking for too long, because I want to hand over to our lovely youth ambassadors to start debunking our myths around work experience, because there's a lot of misconceptions out there in the world about work experience placements and about work experience in general. Lots of people leave school and college without any work experience at all. So we're really here to just kind of inspire and kind of talk to you about why it's really, really important and what all sorts of things it can lead on to as well. So without kind of chatting too much, I will move on to our first myth, which is the myth around that work experience isn't real work. So I'm going to stop the slide presentation so that we can have a conversation, and I'm going to go to Scott first. So what's your opinion on work experience being real work?
For me, I feel like it very much is work. You know, you're literally in the job, whether it be, as we were saying, a week, 2 weeks, up to 12 weeks. You're getting first-hand experience of what that job's going to be. For me, from when I was doing it, it gave me a real insight into what the job was actually going to entail. So it was kind of like, I seen it as me kind of interviewing the employer as such, to see if actually the job was right for me. But it also, allowed the employer to see how, my skills and what I could do, kind of thing. So it was kind of like a two-way conversation within actually doing some work and experiencing what it would be like to work within that place and doing that role.
Fab. Thanks, Scott. Anastasia, what was your experience of work experience and around it being real work?
So working for BAE, doing work experience, we were given a certain level of security clearance because my program was only 4 weeks, and obviously the products that we work with are highly secure. But on the 4 weeks work experience that I had, I was placed within supply chain quality. So I was in there as a quality engineer. And although I had to read kind of like usual policies, processes and procedures, which can be pretty boring sometimes, I had to do that. But then I was put within the approvals coordination office and given the opportunity to do the same job as the other quality engineers. I had to go out there and contact the suppliers. I was doing supplier quality approvals, looking at their ISO accreditation, etc. And again, I was actually getting the chance to call them, email them, liaise with the suppliers directly and other people in the business. And I was given full access to everything that was allowed access to based on the security clearance that I had at the time. But yeah, all the work experience stuff that I was given, it was tangible. And at the end of the work experience program, so BAE look to fast track movement of work participants into an apprenticeship. And when you go for the apprenticeship interview, they like you to have kind of a project that you've worked on to show what you're capable of doing. So based off that work experience and the work that I did, I was able to utilise that work as a project and take that into my apprenticeship application interview as well. And it was, like I said, tangible work. It was stuff that actually made a difference to the business. And I don't know how much people know about quality and audit and stuff like that, but the 4 weeks work experience that I did helped to get the business down from a major non-conformance of something to do with audit to a minor. So it was very, very tangible. It was definitely real work experience, and it definitely contributed to the business as well. And like I said, that was only 4 weeks worth.
Amazing, Anastasia. It sounds like you were given a lot of responsibility quite early on as well.
Surprisingly, yeah, because I didn't know anything about quality engineering. I didn't have a clue about quality. I didn't even have a maths qualification, so let alone being put into an engineering role. But yeah, I was given the responsibility, but obviously supported throughout the process. But yeah, it was definitely work for sure. Definitely real work.
Fab, and lots to talk about in interviews and things like that afterwards as well, which was great. Amazing. Josiah, what is your opinion and experience of work experience isn't real work?
So compared to Scott and Anastasia, mine was a bit different. So I was with Marks and Spencer's for 6 months on Kickstart. So for me, I got to explore 3 different departments, which I basically had no experience in before. So, learning all of these different things, I could figure out what I wanted to do. So if I wanted to go into this sort of path, or just to give you a bit of explanation, where I was working, we had a hospitality department, we had operations, and then we had customer facing. So that'd be tills and all sorts like that. So I got the experience to actually try all 3 of them within 6 months. So that's about 2 months each. And I could really see whether I actually enjoyed doing something or I enjoyed something more. And from that, I actually figured out that I actually enjoyed doing operations. So um, the experience for me made me realize what I want to do and what I don't want to do. And I found it very helpful. But also with that, I've been here for 2 years now. Yeah, I've been here for 2 years. So it shows that, that sort of stuff kind of pushes you in the right direction rather than just jumping into a job that you don't know nothing about. Now you know what you're doing. And they trust you to do certain things, just like all of us here. They trust us to do all of these high profile jobs in a way. So
That's amazing, Josiah. And that's something that's really, really key with work experience as well, is to go in and try different things so that you know what you want to do before you just jump straight in. And that's the beauty of it as well. There's kind of no commitment as well, because it can be short courses, so you can kind of decide while you're there if it is right for you. And it's also totally fine to go and do work experience and decide, actually, I've gone and done it, I've tried it, I actually really just don't think this is for me, and I want to go and try some other work experience and do something else as well. Fabulous. So we're going to have to do a bit of jumping backwards and forwards of me. Oh, seeing if I can get the slides up on the screen, but I don't think that's worked. Oh, wait a second. Oh, wait a second. I think it has. And I think I can jump back to the slide that I was at before. Perfect. Amazing. So the next myth that we're going to be chatting through is you don't get any support. Because I think this is a real worry, is that when you go and do work experience, that you're just thrown in at the deep end and you don't get any support. So I would love to talk to some of the youth ambassadors about what support they received while they're on the work experience program. And I'm going to mix it up a little bit, and I'm going to go to Anastasia first to talk about her experience of if you got any support and what that support looked like and what it was all about while you were on your work experience program.
Yeah, no worries. So during the program, I received support in terms of reimbursement for travel expenses, because obviously I wasn't working or anything like that. I was just claiming benefits, so didn't have a massive amount of money that I was able to spend on being able to travel. And then the buses weren't that cheap around the area that I was in either. So yeah, they reimbursed my travel expenses, which was great. I also got help with lunch. So when we had our program, they put on a free lunch every day for us as well. So that was great. In terms of since the pandemic, so I didn't have this support because I didn't need it, but since the pandemic, or during the pandemic, other people that have been on the work experience programs have been provided with IT provisions such as laptops, etc., desks and stuff like that. If they need to be able to, obviously if they're working from home, they weren't able to do the work experience on site, so they were supported with anything that they needed from that perspective as well. And then in terms of actual kind of mental support during the program, so I was given a mentor who was absolutely fantastic with me, really brought me out of my shell in terms of confidence, supported me through every aspect of the work experience. So he was there every minute that I needed him. Even when I finished the program and I went back to kind of just hovering around in that time of being unemployed again before I was working back with BAE, the mentor stayed in touch with us to keep contact with us, to help us with CVs and applying for the apprenticeship application. He invited me to work team lunches well into after I'd finished the work experience, so that was great. And again, he helped with getting us there in terms of bus and whatnot, which I know not every mentor might do that, but mine did. And yeah, since then, me and him have been really good friends since 2014. I still see and speak to him now. And I've actually been back to work for him again since. So I've had an incredible amount of support during the programme. And I know other people that were on the Movement to Work programme at the same time as me, they also had mentors who did basically the same thing for them as well.
Amazing. So lots and lots of support as well, just not just for kind of, you're not just thrown in the deep end, people are checking in with you to make sure you're okay. Scott, what's your experience of support while you were on your Movement to Work programme?
Yeah, similar to Anastasia, to be honest. We had quite a lot of support, not only physical support, so again, because mine was during like the lockdowns and things, we didn't have to go into the office, it was all virtual. And so I know some people were supported with technology if they couldn't, or kind of internet and things like that if it wasn't necessarily accessible for them. For me personally, I got a lot of kind of support around disability because I am actually registered blind. So I needed things, adapt. I needed the material that was being sent to us adapted. I was having additional support, given extra time to read things, which really helped me access the course because I wasn't feeling very confident going into something like the civil service and thinking that someone with my level of eyesight would be able to access anything. So that was it was really good support because I got a phone call before the course even started to make sure they had any kind of adjustments in place. And then I also had regular contact away from the course as well throughout to make sure if there was anything ongoing that needed changing. We also got mentors as well who kind of just followed us through our journey through that placement and kind of focused on what we enjoyed, what we were interested in, and kind of gained a bit of an understanding of our skill level, because what they were trying to do is they were trying to look at the availability of roles within the department, which was vast to be honest at the time, because they were going through a big recruitment drive and trying to support us through applications on roles that really best suited us and what we were most interested in, which I ended up actually getting onto an apprenticeship similar to Anastasia, and then I was made permanent again through that ongoing support after the placement. So my apprenticeship was 18 months, and throughout that time I was having regular contact with my mentor, and they actually were able to support me through an application to secure a permanent role within the department, which now, just over 2 years on, I'm still here, and I've now just secured a promotion, which again was through support of my mentor, helping me go through the application process. So there was just massive amounts of support, not just from my mentor, but from the whole Movement to Work team within DWP, because they have quite a big team. So it was having access to multiple people with different skill sets, just being able to kind of utilise as and when I needed it, really, at different stages.
Oh, Scott, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. That was wonderful. And it's great to hear how supported you felt, especially those adjustments and stuff. So if anybody is listening who also has a disability, to know that like there is employers out there that are willing to go over and above as well, is just amazing to hear.
Yeah,
so
obviously just the kind of visual kind of sides of stuff as well. It's people with physical disabilities as well. So I know now that we're back going to face-to-face placements, a lot of people are getting support if they're struggling with mobility and things like that. I know some of the departments that are doing these placements in the civil service are doing like taxi support, so they'll pay for like reimbursed taxis and things like that to get them in and out the building, and making sure whatever building they're going into is fully accessible as well.
Oh, amazing. That's great. They're really leading the way there. That's wonderful. Josiah, do you have anything extra to add to that? What's your kind of experience of support while you were doing Kickstart?
Well, just like these two as well, when I joined, it was coming to the end of COVID. Well, still here, but the lockdown period. So for us, we at M&S, they gave us discounts. So they made us feel like was part of the family there too, which is great. Everyone does a bit of discounts. For me, I didn't live too far from the store, so that was fine for me. But also, I was more worried about the support as well that I'd receive. So for me, I've got learning difficulties. So I'm dyslexic and I'm autistic. So some things I do struggle to understand. I might take my time to actually understand things, or need a bit of repetition until I actually understand what you're talking about. And usually people get quite annoyed with that. So I was a bit worried that when I go into Kickstart that I'd be judged a lot on that. But the whole time I was there, I felt like there was nothing wrong with me, you know? Everything was just working. Once I finished that, I was also put onto an apprenticeship, which I've just finished actually. And now I'm actually moving on to a different role in the next month. So it's all working out for me as well. But there's a lot of support around, and they continue to give the support. Like it's they're ready, so it's ready installed inside the business.
Oh, amazing, Josiah. That was thank you for sharing that as well. It's so great to hear that you are also well supported with all of kind of, whether it was confidence, whether it was disabilities as well, like bringing you out of your shell and that kind of thing. It's really, really great to hear that you are all so supported. So let's move on to myth number 3. So we're almost halfway, and this myth is an interesting one because I think all of you guys have touched upon it already, but then there is this myth that you go and do work experience and you might go and do it for 3 or 4 weeks and then it doesn't lead to anything. So myth number 3 is work experience doesn't lead to a job. So I'll come to Josiah first because we've not come to you first. So Josiah, what is your opinion on this myth and what is your experience? I know you've touched upon it already, but just remind us.
Well, I always like to say that if you put your all into something, it will always come back to you. And I'm sure I can speak for everyone here, but once we was in these work experience stuff, we're putting our all into it. And obviously we're getting what we deserve from it, you know, we're getting a job out of it. So it's really what you put into it. I've got a job out of it. So after the 6 months, I actually received a full-time contract. And then I was put onto an apprenticeship, and now I'm going on to another contract. So, you know, it's just blessings after blessings, but it's all about the work that you put in. So, and what's 2 years now? I never thought I'd be at this stage. So I'm happy, and I'm sure everyone else is too.
Amazing, thanks, Josiah. And did you have to interview at the end of your 6 months for your role, or did you kind of were offered something because of the demonstration of your skills and etc. throughout the Kickstart experience?
So I stayed through the whole of the Kickstart. Some people didn't. So after I did stay, obviously they know what skills I've got already. That I'm, as they said, I'm an asset to the team, so they didn't want to lose that. So yeah, they kept me on from there. But for my next role, I had to do an interview and I've passed that interview stage. So I'm just waiting for it to come now. But yeah.
Oh, amazing. So that's amazing that sometimes you can go through these work experience programs, and then that's kind of an amazing way to kind of, they see the value in you, and you don't actually have to then sometimes even interview afterwards to then get the next role. It's kind of like a 6-month long interview, really, isn't it, where you've shown kind of commitment to the organization and to M&S, so that they gave you a role. So congratulations.
And just to add something on to that,
yeah, go for it.
I've never had to show my CV.
So amazing.
My CV has not been shown through any process. So from the work experience that I joined on and anything that I've applied for, my CV has not been seen. And I think that's quite awesome. That just shows we don't really need CVs either.
Amazing. I love that. I'm so here for the kind of abolishment of CVs and stuff, because it's not a good way to really measure what somebody is like in the role. Scott, tell us about your experience and what happened at the end of your placement and what it led to.
So I know, as I mentioned before, I did go on to an apprenticeship, but to kind of get to there, so what originally happened was towards the end of my placement, we were kind of getting job ready. We were doing workshops with experienced people within the civil service that done recruitment, that done interviews on a regular basis. So we were looking at like interview prep, kind of, because the civil service use success profiles. So again, we don't use CVs. We just don't use them at all. what they like to do is they call them behaviour statements. So you have 250 words, you have set of 9 behaviours basically, and you have 250 words that you have to just explain how you've experienced, or what experience you've had within that particular behaviour. And within every application, there'll be a list of, like, say 1, 2, or 3. Typically, it's 3 behaviours that you would just, as I say, write that 250 words on what you've experienced and how you've kind of met that behaviour. So I originally applied to be a work coach for Universal Credit, but unfortunately I didn't get through to the. I got through to the interview, but didn't get through to kind of the final stage. So then that continuous support that I got from my mentor, I was supported onto a 18-month apprenticeship, which I didn't have to interview for at all. I was just appointed onto the apprenticeship based on kind of my experience and kind of what I've shown within my movement to work placement, and the kind of confirmation from that mentor / manager to say that they've experienced and they think that I am, kind of a good fit for the role. So I was just kind of appointed. I know now within the civil service, they are kind of aligning roles to the placements. So I know within HMRC, I think it was sometime last year, they done a 2-week work experience placement, and everyone that was on that placement got a 2-year fixed term appointment within that department. And then if they were to obviously stay on, they would have to apply for a permanent role after that. So I know they are looking at how they can align roles automatically from the placements.
Amazing. That's incredible. Some incredible just demonstrations of how you can be fast tracked into roles and how organizations are keeping roles aside and don't want to lose you once you're in the business as well. I love that. It's really, really good. Fabulous. Thanks, Scott. And finally, Anastasia, what was your experience? I know you touched on it already, but just give us a bit of a refresher.
Yeah, so when I started my program, I kind of just went onto it because I didn't have anything going on in my life and wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. And I'd actually left my prior job because I was about to get sacked for being off with poor mental health because I suffer with depression. So it's kind of just floating around. So when I went on the Movement to Work program and they put us in the quality engineering role, I wasn't entirely sure if BAE was the right company for me, if being in, a quality engineering role was right for me, to be honest with you. And during the work experience, they got us to do mock interviews for the actual apprenticeships for BAE. And I'd never ever thought about doing an apprenticeship. I was 24 at the time, with an 8-year-old. So going into doing an apprenticeship at that time had never passed my mind whatsoever. But after doing the 4-week program, the team that I was in, they offered me a job back into the team that I was in. So I went in as a grade D quality engineer. Again, no maths qualifications or anything like that. So how I managed to bag that, I've got no idea. But I must have done really well within the 4 weeks that I was there and showed them something, obviously, that they wanted to take in the business. And then when I was doing the quality engineer role, my mentor at the time suggested, he said, why don't you attempt to apply for the apprenticeship? So I did that. I applied and I managed to get on. The actual entry-level requirements for the apprenticeship were to have 5 GCSEs, grade A to C. I think it's different now. It's numbers now, isn't it? But it was grades A to C, and one of them being maths. So what the business actually did was they give me time out and give me support to go do a maths functional skills qualification during work hours, and that then got me onto the apprenticeship as well. So that was a 2-year advanced business apprenticeship. And then I came out of my time as a business support professional. And then off the back of that, went into project management, then done my project management qualifications. Like I said, I've then had 2 promotions since. So been in the business about 8 years now. And like I said, to start with, I didn't have a clue what I wanted to do. Didn't think I'd ever go down the project management route. But it's definitely worked out for me. I've definitely got a tangible job out of it. I can definitely say that. So yeah, it's not anything that I'd kind of planned to go into, but it's fell into my lap really, and it's worked out well.
Amazing. That's great. I love each one of your stories, because I feel like with each one of you, you've all really kind of grasped what was kind of, you've took the work experience in your stride, you really made the most of every opportunity, and then every opportunity that's followed just seems to be really organic and really meaningful and has just really worked out. So it's really great, and you're such shining examples that work experience does lead to jobs, and it does lead to work. So myth number 4, which I'll just getting on screen now, is we've already debunked, because there's a lot of misconception around work experience not being real work, and these guys have said that it is real work. You're getting something really tangible out of the work experience, but also there's a little bit of a conception around the misconception around that work experience is just work. So like you're just kind of given the jobs that nobody else wants to do and that kind of thing, and that it's just work and you don't get anything extra. So I want the guys to think about and share if they got anything extra out of the work experience while they were on it, in terms of like, did you guys do any training and that kind of thing, and what other experiences you got. So I'm just stop the slide presentation, and I'll go back to you, Anastasia. You go for it.
Yes, I'm trying to start off with this one to think about what I've not already covered, really. I mean,
which just gets harder as we go through the myths as well. So it's kind of like
it does, because I don't want to reiterate stuff that I've already said and bore people. But yeah, like I said, the work that I was given wasn't just work. I was given the same work that the other engineers were doing within the team. So the lady that I was put with and the job that I was doing, so she is just below an exec level within the business. And I was doing exactly the same job, or given exactly the same job to do as her, to get real good experience. It wasn't just we've got someone in the back filing some paperwork, crack on, so to speak. It wasn't like that. And then, as I also said, during the work experience program, so I was looked after by the launch group in the Prince's Trust, and they put us through. I didn't do any specific qualifications because it was only just 4 weeks of the program, but I did get to do a lot of extra training around safety, health, environment, usual kind of training modules that employees get to do at BAE as well. And then they give us the support around doing mock interviews for the apprenticeships. So I think the program at the time was kind of focused on getting people into BAE apprenticeships. I think that's still the case now. So the work experience was kind of based on, well, this is what you would be doing within kind of apprenticeship-based roles. And then during my work experience, as well as the tangible work that I was doing within quality engineering, they took me around the business to show me the different areas where you would experience doing a business apprenticeship within BAE. So I got to experience that as well.
Amazing. Thanks, Anastasia. And that was definitely different to what you were saying on for the other myths as well. Josiah, we'll come to you next. Did you do anything extra on your Kickstart that wasn't just work?
Well, as I said before, I covered 3 different sections. So from that, I gained food handling qualification. So obviously, because the kind of business it is, you need that anyway. So that was nice for me. But can I talk about after as well?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So past that as well, I'm a fire health and safety officer, so I'm actually qualified to tackle fires and all sorts, and I train other people to do so as well. I'm a first aider, a trained first aider. I never thought I'd be doing either one of them. I'm trained in operations, so I reverse very, very big vehicles. I use all sorts of equipment, that normal people probably don't even know what they're called. So for me, that's more than just work for me. That's an experience in itself. I could take it anywhere I go, and it's on my CV, it's on my profiles everywhere, so people can see what else I can do as well.
Amazing. Oh, You still going?
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Oh, fab. Okay, sorry, I didn't want to cut into you there just then. Fabulous. Thanks, Josiah. And we'll come to Scott next as well. Did you get anything extra out of your work experience?
Yeah, similar to Anastasia, to be honest. So we done a lot of like mandatory, like kind of government training, which we wouldn't usually do. Or if, as the myth says, work experience just work, you kind of just get put into work. It wasn't just like that. We were treated like every other member of staff. So we had to do like security training, how to deal with customers and all that kind of stuff, health and safety. We had to do like desk assessments and all that kind of stuff. So it was all kind of giving us real understanding of what it was like and the kind of all the additional support that we could receive if we were to work there, obviously on a longer basis. So we were given access to things like what we call PAM Assist. So it's all our kind of like mental health support, and we could phone, it's like a 24-hour like crisis line and things like that. So because obviously we were going through lockdown as well, people did feel isolated, and that the mental health wasn't the best because they weren't going out and socializing and being able to see other people. So like having that additional access and things to during that work experience placement, I know for a lot of people was really beneficial. And I think afterwards as well, after that placement, it was that again, that additional support and kind of that expert knowledge of somebody that works within recruitment and kind of really honing my skills and my kind of thought processes as well, on what was right for me, what actually they thought that I could really kind of suit within the role within the department as well. And then again, what Josiah said as well, I'm actually now a first aider, which never thought I'd be able to do considering my eyesight, and a lot of people were very hesitant on that. But again, it was that support from the placement and my mentor that we kind of broke down barriers as well and got opened up other opportunities that wouldn't necessarily have been opened.
Fabulous. And I bet that exceeded quite a lot of expectations as well and kind of empowered you to do all of these things. So that's wonderful.
I mean, the question was, how can you be a first aider and have a guide dog? And I was like, well, watch and learn.
Absolutely love that, Scott. It's really empowering. Amazing, guys. I'm a bit conscious of time because I know we've got lots of lovely questions in the chat as well, but we do have one more myth to debust or debunk, and then I've also got a little bit to say after that as well. So the next and final myth is work experience doesn't offer meaningful connections. So Josiah, what's your opinion on this myth, and does it offer meaningful connections?
Well, I'm going to do a bit of promo for the movement to work, but I've met these lovely people all on the screen. None of us work for the same company, yet we all know each other now. There's loads of events that we go to now, twice a year, where we meet great people, who we all connect with, help other people to connect with other people. So connections is pretty much endless. And this is what the work experience has got for me. People within my own business that I never thought I'd be able to speak to, managing directors of different parts of the company. I'm thinking I'm just a customer assistant, I'm never going to be able to speak to these people, yet they're speaking to me. And it's an opportunity that I never thought I'd have. So connections are pretty much endless.
I love that, Josiah. Thank you so much. Scott, what about you?
I mean, yeah, it's very similar as to what Josiah said there. Again, we do obviously meet other people from other placements, other businesses that I would never have ever met. And I think it's, using other people's experiences and other people's kind of understandings of different areas to kind of really connect and obviously understand what each other have been through and support each other as well. And then within my own department, again, having a mentor and having that opportunity to network. So within the civil service, they do a lot of guest speakers throughout the kind of couple of weeks that you're with them, from different people at different levels of the business, kind of offering out their support and offering their experiences of what their civil service journeys have been like and what different roles are about. So, and then they're regularly keeping in contact with you afterwards as well. So when I kind of raised the fact about my kind of disability again and said, you know, my kind of hesitance, shall we say, going into this kind of employment, I had various people from different levels of the business kind of offering kind of support outside of their slot within the placement, and still talk to them to this day and still kind of offering out support. And now I'm kind of actually working on quite high level projects with them, on like fraud, digital work, and doing like accessibility checking for them and things like that, which again opens up that kind of more opportunity in that working relationship.
Amazing. So lots and lots of different connections and stuff, and exposure to people as well, I think, is a big thing. And finally, we'll come to you, Anastasia.
Yeah, so I've made a huge amount of meaningful connections since I've been on the programme and continue to do so. So as Josiah said, there's many people that are, have been on the programmes and are ambassadors from different companies that I've met several times now. That it's great to know them. It's great to see them, spend time with them. So it's good from that perspective. So yeah, I get quite a bit of time with the other youth ambassadors, which is brilliant. In terms of internally at my work, people that I was on the programme with, I'm still friends with some of them. Some of them I went through the actual apprenticeship programme with. People that already worked at BAE when I started there, some of them I'm still very, very good friends with, some best friends with, and even some of them that have retired now, I'm great friends with. Actually, during my apprenticeship, I'll not go into the details, but I had a bit of a wobble and I needed somewhere to live with my son as I was homeless. And one of the people who I'd actually met while on the programme offered me to move into his home with him and his wife. So I stayed there for a couple of years. So I got support from that way. And now I basically call them mum and dad. And I'm still great friends with them. I just live around the corner from them now, literally in the same village. So that's great. And then in terms of movement and work as a whole, I get to spend a bit of time with our CEO, our education director, and it's great because I get to meet people from far across the business in different sectors of BAE who work, in London. I usually would have never have met or come across, but because of movement at work and the youth ambassador stuff that I do, and obviously being on the programme and the fact that I get to share my experience, it means that I get to meet all these incredible people. So I've made a massive amount of meaningful connections from doing this, for sure.
Oh, that's amazing. And that's, I love a bit of promo for Movement to Work Youth Ambassadors there as well. That was amazing. Thank you for that. But also that's the thing about Movement to Work is we are a network and we are connections. And that's one of the big kind of, we're a bit of a massive family that you get kind of brought into, and you get lots of meaningful connections and everybody wants to help each other out. But that's such a good example of how you go on these programs and then it just doesn't end there. You get all of these connections, all of these new people to meet from all different levels as well, CEOs, HRDs, managing directors as well, which is great. I've just got a couple more slides to run through, which I'm hoping will answer some of your guys' questions as well. So we would love if you could, and if you wanted to, after listening to the webinar, join our digital community. We're really easy to find. It's just at Movement to Work, and you can follow us via our hashtag, which is Young People Work. We're on LinkedIn, Twitter and Instagram. We post a lot of stuff on LinkedIn as well. So kind of if you're really into LinkedIn or you're wanting to get on LinkedIn and stuff, you can come and find us there. We've got loads and loads of different things and we share lots of different content as well. If you're interested in doing a placement, that is a Movement to Work placement, we have an area of our website where we host all of our placements. So if you go to movementtowork.com, go across the top bar to young people, click on that, you'll see youth opportunities, and you'll be taken to another web page which has all of our current youth opportunities. Each opportunity is really different. So movement to work kind of sits a little bit into the background, and when you kind of go to apply for these placements, you'll usually be taken to another website for the people who are on the ground running the program. So for example, if it's BAE, for example, we've got one up there for BAE, which is administration at the moment. It's called Get Into Business Administration. If you were to go to our website, click on that, you'll be taken to the Prince's Trust website, because they're the ones actually running the program. And the application process and how to apply really, really differs from program to program. So it's not a one size fits all. For example, with Prince's Trust, you tend to do a taster day and then you go on to the program. Whereas with other, whereas for example, with the civil service, you have to be in receipt of universal credit. So you could see an opportunity, and if you are interested in any of the opportunities with the civil service, you must be signed on with the job centre and receiving universal credit, and you can go and receive universal credit, and then you can speak to your job centre if you're wanting to be part of that that program as well, and you can speak to them that way. So it's really, really different. You do need to, for movement to work specifically, you do need to be aged 18 or 16 to 30. If you are over the age of 30, you would have to just reach out to the businesses individually to see if they would do anything for you. But that's just our age range, and we do have to have a cap, unfortunately. But thank you everybody for listening. I really hope you found that useful. If we don't have time to answer your questions, we do have a info account, which is just info@movementtowork.com, which you can kind of get in contact for any of your questions if we don't manage to answer them right now. But I would also like to thank all of the youth ambassadors as well that have been here to debunk these myths with me, and thank you for your time. And we will hand over to Andy, who's going to come and facilitate what I imagine is going to be a very quick Q&A session. Thank you. So I'm sorry for running over there as well.
Oh, no, it was great. You've answered, I think, maybe 6 or 7 questions in the past 2 seconds there, so that's perfect. But I see it's a good one here by Dean. He says, have you noticed a change in how work experience works since the pandemic?
Interesting. Does any of the youth ambassadors want to answer this? But I'm also happy to answer it as well. I don't mind unless anybody wants to jump in.
I can my side, yeah.
Yeah, go for it, Scott.
So I think it definitely has changed, and kind of what they're kind of focusing on, I think, has changed as well, particularly in the civil service. It was primarily before COVID was all face-to-face. That's all it was. They didn't have that option, which obviously narrowed down what placements you could access as well. Then during kind of the pandemics and thing, it was all virtual. So then it opened up a lot more opportunities, because say if you were based like to where I am, so say Liverpool, you could only access it when it was face-to-face. It was only just those. But then when it went to virtual, I was actually on a placement where someone was in London, someone was in Leeds, I was in Liverpool. You know, it was so vast, and it just gave you a lot more scope on what you could access and what kind of support you could access as well. Because again, the people that were coming onto the placements were all from various parts of the country, which again, if it was face-to-face, you wouldn't have had that opportunity. And then again, the focus of it really, I think, changed, particularly in the civil service, because we look at different skills now that a lot of it's hybrid. A lot of jobs are now going hybrid. So they're looking at the kind of how they can incorporate that within their placements on what the jobs are actually asking as well.
Amazing. Great. Thanks, Scott. And just to add in there, I think that the types of work experience are changing. So like Scott already mentioned, the pandemic has projected us into this world where we do a lot more webinars, for example, and we do a lot more hybrid. So some of the work experience is in person when it needs to be, and some of it is virtual. So and some programs are now only virtual, but some do go back to being completely face-to-face. So it's really changed with the pandemic, whether it is just virtual. And obviously, as Scott says, if it is virtual, it opens the door for everybody all over the UK to be able to kind of take part and get involved. And removed that massive barrier, which is really, really good. I also would say that different organisations have adapted their work experience. So some might have started off with an 8-week placement and then said, oh, no, that's a bit too long. And then it's gone down to 2 weeks. So it really depends on the company as well that's running the work experience. But what I would say is they regularly do like diagnostics to see, is it still working? Is it still appropriate? And if it's not, they change it, and it's changing all the time as well.
Great. Amazing stuff. Quickly, Ben says, can you provide any stats for movement to work programs? Like how many applicants go on to full-time work?
Oh, put me on the spot there. I don't know if we, I think our stats sit at around 80%, and that's for kind of work experience, apprenticeships, entry-level roles. So it is really high of those who do kind of go through any sort of movement to work placement as well. So it is... it really depends on the individual, because as we mentioned before as well, there's lots of people go and try work experience and it just won't work out for them. But then lots of people do try and then it does work out for them. So I think our stats sit at around 8%, but don't quote me on that because my chief operating officer might not be too happy.
Well, I know with work experience and with apprenticeships as well, it's all relatively high if you're doing a good job.
Mm-hmm.
So there we go. Scott, you've got Paula. Gemma Breed says hi to you. So there you go. And Paula also says, question for Scott, who was the training provider for your apprenticeship?
So the training provider was Capital Learning. They were working with the civil service to do it. I know recently we have changed the apprenticeship.
Oh, I think Scott's cut out there, unless it's me as well.
We've lost him.
Oh no.
Not during the question. Scott, if you can reconnect, we'll just move on to the other one while he is reconnecting. I guess a question for... Oh. You back?
Yeah, sorry, it froze.
Go ahead.
I don't know what you heard from it, but yeah. Basically, yeah. So when I was doing my apprenticeship, it was Capital Learning. I know the provider has changed. Not entirely sure who they are at present, but I know it was a recent change.
Okay, great. I believe that is all the questions answered and all the time we've had. So we've finished on perfect timing. One last thing before we go, have you got any final advice for our attendees here? You want to maybe get into movement to work or go down the same path as you have gone?
Oh, I'll let the youth ambassadors take this one. Whoever would like to go first, I'll open the floor.
Okay, I'll go.
Yeah, I can jump in. Oh, go on, Josiah. I'll let you go first. Go on, I'll let you go first. Crack on.
Okay, I'll definitely say check out the website. As Ashley did say earlier, there's a lot of opportunities on there. Reach out to companies, reach out to people on LinkedIn. The worst you can get is a no. The best you can get is a yes. So just reach out, connect with people, connect with all of us. If you're not happy to do so, I'm more than happy to do so, and we can always try and help as well.
Great.
Yeah, I was just literally about to reiterate the same thing and say, yeah, connect with us on LinkedIn. I'm more than happy to try and help and support anyone that has any questions, and I can try and utilise my network as much as possible for you. And the only other thing I would say as well is, in terms of any opportunities that come up, just take it. I mean, even if it's something that doesn't necessarily tickle your fancy and you think that's not what I want to do for the rest of my life, even if you jump on something for a bit, you're going to get some learning out of it. You're going to get some sort of skill set out of it that you'll be able to transfer to another role. And again, it's something to show employers that you're trying, you're keen as well. So yeah, that's what I'd say.
Amazing. Thank you.
Scott, do you have any final advice for the people who are listening?
I think it's pretty much been covered already, but I just said, just give everything a go. you never know what's going to be on the other side of any experience. You know, I didn't think I was going to be working in the civil service. My background's in performing arts, and look at me now. I'm in the civil service, so I think just give everything a go and kind of just take in as much as you can.
I love that. Am I giving some advice? I could give
yes, you give some advice as well.
I'll give some advice.
Why not?
I think that to have an open mind and to push yourself out of your comfort zone. So a little bit similar to what the guys have said in terms of just take every opportunity. Sometimes those opportunities might be scary, might not be something that you are used to, but just be patient. And if you are feeling a bit nervous or a little bit scared, just communicate to that, because people are kind and people are nice and people are understanding. So just have an open mind, and if it's scary, it means that you're doing the right thing as well.
Nice. Amazing. Thank you very much, guys, for taking us through your experiences, debunking your myths and answering some questions as well. So I hope everyone in the call found it very insightful and got some nice information out of that webinar. So hope to see all our attendees in the next webinar at 2:30. But for the meantime, thank you very much to the Movement to Work team, and have a good afternoon.
Thanks, Andy. Take care, everybody, and good luck.
Thank you, everyone. Cheerio.